is when you get into that philosophy piece and the fact that and this right here is straight off of the first page of the foundations course. Now, have you seen the foundations course, Ty?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
I got it.
that's what I'm saying. But this right here is the nuts and bolts of it. And every time I talk to people, they wanna talk about what play of the day is good, what is not good. And I think the most important thing is this idea of small playbook equal big results, and that idea of being a master of one and not a jack of all trades, and having that identity and being able to hang your hat on something. And the biggest thing in talking to the newer air raid guys is they fight the urge to want to add and change just for the sake of adding and changing. And I think that's one of the things that, Zach, you as a younger guy, and I think Coach Pilgrim has figured this out already, but one of the things that you have to really, really focus on is there is a process to this thing. And you hear guys say that all the time. That's like that catchphrase, trust the process. Right. Everything. And I saw a video of Coach Mumme talking to a middle school team today on Facebook. One of the groups posted a group where he had come by one of their practices and talked to them. And one of the things that he said was, listen, these drills were developed years ago. And if you've ever read The Perfect Pass or Stretch the Cornfield, or if you've ever talked to Coach Mumme in person, he'll tell you, like, routes on air was created in a gym with folding chairs, for high school kids. And so that's the reason why our offensive system is so successful at the high school level. I mean, it has its roots in the West Coast offense and in BYU. And Coach Mumme will readily tell you that he stole a lot of stuff from LaVell Edwards. He didn't invent mesh, but him and Mike came together and invented a way to practice mesh and became very specific, and he does specific things for a reason. And so, all of these things are the most important things. And use that as a young guy talking about you trying to convince the head coach to do this and do that. The hardest part, and this was the hardest part for me when I first started, is that when you start designing practice, you design it just like you've always practiced. I mean, Ty, you can remember it was 15 minutes of individual, 10 minutes of inside drill, 10 minutes of this, 10 minutes. I mean, just because, and you did practice because that's the way you played, and you really had no idea of why you were doing the things that you were doing. I mean, and to be fair, if you're an air raid team, you don't need 15 minutes of inside. You don't need goal line 3 times a week. Okay. And so you have to be able to figure that out, have that identity, and being able to design that practice so you get that magic rep is the most important. It's like that quote that Coach Mumme says all the time: repetition is the mother of learning. You just got to keep going over and over and over and over and over. And like I said, designing your practice. And the cool thing is working with Coach Salas now. We're at a 1A school, and we've got 45 guys on the team.
You're lucky.
That's JV and varsity.
Yeah, you're lucky still.
And that's JV and varsity. But you know what? We 2 platoon.
Wow. Thank you very much. I love that thought right there.
I mean, we 2 platoon, and I'm going to tell you the way we practice, and I'll put it up on the board. I'll show you exactly how our practice looks, and it's crazy because you're at a school and you got 35 guys that are going to dress on Friday night, and you got nobody going both ways. Now we might have Johnny, who was the starting corner, might be the 5th wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. But, I got 6 offensive linemen. The defensive line coach has 6 defensive linemen. And, there's a guy over on that defense right now that I would love to have that joker playing guard. But that's just the philosophy that we've taken, and we've 2 platoon at that smaller school, and it really makes a difference. But even with them numbers, we do settle and noose every day. We do routes on air every day. Now we don't do, and we do pat and go probably twice a week. But we do 7-on-7. We do 1-on-1s, and we have team period where we're doing run and pass, and then we have a competition period every day. And it's like, and you know what? We're out there 2 hours, done. We're not practicing for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. And I think that's really, really important, being able to do that. But like I said, everyday drills, making those, emphasizing those fundamentals. We're doing those, detail work every day. I think it's so important. And this to me is the magic of the area.
Absolutely.
If you can focus on these things here and really understand that, even though it's boring to do settling noose every day, even though it's boring to do pat and go every day, you got to do it. But the other part of that is you got to coach that thing up full speed. When you're doing settling noose, if a dude isn't catching the ball and tight turning the wrong way, you got to correct that. If the dude's stance isn't right when he starts, you got to correct that. If the quarterback's drop is not correct, you got to correct that. And you got to do all of these different things, because that's what makes you better. And I just, I think sometimes you just kind of get out there and you watch the guys go through settling noose, and you're like, all right, guys, come on, But if you're not constantly coaching those techniques, then you're really wasting your time. So, be a detail-oriented guy. This is one of my favorite quotes, that Bruce Lee quote. He's like, I don't fear a man who knows 10,000 kicks he's practiced once. I fear a man who knows one kick he's practiced 10,000 times. And for me, that's just, that's just crazy important. We do have a balanced attack. I don't know what's your run pass ratio these days, Coach? Are y'all 50-50? I mean, for us, balance, we base our balance on touches, not on how many runs and passes we throw. So
I do the same thing. So balance to me is defined by did everybody get the ball equally? And I'm in the same boat. This is my first year here at a single A school. Mm-hmm. And I actually took that job because of something that Coach Mumme said. Sometimes it's good to get the obscure job or the rebuild, because people just give you a blank check and let you do whatever you want.
I've never taken a job where they were winning. This last job I took, when I took the job at Fairmont, was my opportunity to go somewhere that had been at least 500 and had athletes.
Oh, wow. Well,
look, we got a running back playing at Duke right now that played at Fairmont. And I had speed, size, all of that stuff. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
I had my first team meeting, and then 2 weeks later we were shut down. So no summer workouts, no fall camp. Come into the spring, we start spring football because they made us play in the spring in North Carolina. 3 weeks of preseason camp, all my receivers and quarterbacks were on the basketball team playing basketball, because we played basketball before football. Yeah. So I went into my very first game starting the backup JV quarterback, and it rained the entire month of February in North Carolina. You want to talk about every bad thing that could happen, it happened. And the kids, we lived in a rural kind of country area, a lot of poor kids and stuff like that. The only way a lot of them didn't have rides to school because the school buses weren't running, because we barely got back to 2 days a week. We were on an 8. They would come either Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. Our school board never went back to the other stuff. And so it just, it was tough, man. It was real tough that that whole situation. And I just, I looked at after what happened, and then we didn't have enough kids for a JV. It was going to be like a 5-year rebuild, and I just didn't have the energy for it. So I decided just to go and get out of there and go with Coach Silas. But all right, let me get out of this. here. And let's go over here. To turn this off. I can't believe I know this much stuff about. All right. If anybody's seen any of the old school YouTube videos, they remember these boards. I hadn't done YouTube videos on boards in a long time. I had to turn my whole desk around. It was.
I'm still looking for one of those stickers.
I might have one, Coach. Hold on. I don't know if I do or not. I had them on the website a long time ago.
Yeah, I failed to grab one there. Yeah, that
Email
one,
me your address. I'll send it to you. I think I got maybe
that
one or
would be
two left.
phenomenal. It goes right on my truck. I love that design. That is a great logo.
You know, a guy in England designed that thing for me.
Really,
Yeah.
that is
A
that,
guy,
that is just,
it was a dude. I don't know if you've ever seen that website Fiverr. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So I went on there and I was like, look, I'm looking for a logo. And he's like, well, what do you want? And I was like, well, look, I want to incorporate the number 92 and I want to do something with like, you know, like airplanes or bombs or, you know.
Bombs.
And so he came back and he had several different ones. He had this one. There was one that kind of looked like a football and some other stuff. And so when I got that one, I took it, man, and I had it copyrighted and everything. It's pretty awesome.
That one is gold. That one is just gold.
Yeah,
I got the same company make me a logo for a website that I'm still working on after this season. I guess I have some content. It's gonna call pistolairraid.com.
Mm-hmm.
But but that logo didn't come out quite as good as this one. It's just an airplane and dropping footballs, I guess. And
yeah, well, I wanted something simple that, you know, that could be turned into a, you know, a hat or a
yeah, no, this is gold.
When I was, you know, I used to have my own merch made. Like I had a guy that did the t-shirts and did the but then I was having to mail it out all the time and just trying to stay on top of that. And then, of course, then you got a box with t-shirts in it that you got money tied up in.
Yeah.
So when I went with Teespring to do all the merch stuff, they didn't do hats at first.
Right.
And then when they started doing hats, I was like, yo, so I got to look, you know, I got the trucker hats now and they're real nice. And it just.
Yeah, I actually got one of your older shirts. Like it's a long sleeve quarter zip.
Oh, okay.
With the logo on it, but it's a little older by now.
Well, at least 2 years old.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, at least 2 years old. All right. So hey, the first thing, can y'all see the board?
Yes, perfect.
All right. Well, let's talk about that practice structure first. I think that will kind of help you guys out. Zach, how big is your school?
Our high school is like 750, but
okay.
I mean, yeah, I think we'll probably have, I don't know, our football numbers are not great right now. I think we'll probably have 50-ish on the team. Probably that's freshman through senior.
That's one of the great things about Air Raid. It fixes that problem.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with those basketball kids because they don't want to be tight end.
Yep.
So what we do is we have a 15-minute like special teams period to start practice. Okay. And while that's happening, the O-line and D-line that aren't in special teams are with us. So I get 15 minutes kind of quote unquote pre-practice. And in this situation, we do just kind of our fundamental work, like kick sets and the D-line is doing get-offs, you know, stuff that you don't really want to do like during your regular time. But then we go to a, you know, kind of our 15-minute fundamental period. So, you know, O-line is doing whatever they do. And then running backs, quarterbacks, and receivers are doing settle, pat and go during that time. Okay. So I'm doing probably run fundies or pass fundies, whichever one that is. And then they get on to you know, they while they're doing routes on air, we get another 15 minutes of funnies. Okay. Sometimes during this time, the running backs will come down with us. So O-line, you're going to get about 30 minutes of funnies every day, which I tell people all the time, the most important coach in the air raid is your offensive line coach.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because he's the one, you know, it's the only offense I've ever been in where the O-line coach didn't say, Coach, I need more time. You know, I need more time. And for me, it's really nice because coaching with Coach Salas again, you know, I already know everything he wants and everything because we've worked together before. You know, I was the head coach, he was the OC. Now he's the head coach, I'm the OC. But because we have that run of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's day one insertion, then we're doing counter. So all the time during this funny period, I'm doing counter drills, whether I'm doing kickouts or I'm doing, skip pulls or whatever it is. We're doing counter drills. So that really, really makes a difference. And then when they come back, they have like 10 minutes of 7-on-7. And while they're doing that, we're doing blitz. Okay. So the running backs will come to me and then we'll do a blitz period against the D-line and linebackers. Now on the other side of the field, they got the same thing. They're doing D-line. You know, they got fundamentals, you know, they're doing their corner work, their linebacker work, everything is going on over here the same way. And then when we get here, we come together. So you have first team defense will service the offense for 5 or 10 plays, and then the offense will service the defense for 5 or 10 plays. So we scout team each other. Like our ones are our scout team, and we'll rotate some JVs in and do some different things like that. And then we go team for probably 10 minutes, 5 minutes on offense, 5 minutes on defense. We just run a script. You know, sometimes it runs a little bit longer. And then we have competition. And our competition, we actually compete to see who wears the gold jerseys. So we're black and gold. So we have white jerseys, black jerseys, and gold jerseys. And whichever team wins the competition gets to wear the gold jerseys the next day of practice. And so it's always 4 plays. Whether it's 4 plays from the 20, 4 plays from the 10, whatever it is, and whoever wins gets to wear that uniform. So that's just kind of how you see it. I mean, it's 30. I mean, it's a 2-hour practice, but everything is 2 platooned, and it's just you can be better not 2 platooning, but you can't be better you can be more better not 2 platooning because you're getting more reps. And now, generally speaking, what we do is we take the 4 best skill guys and put them on offense. A lot of defensive coaches don't like that. But even Coach Saban says, offense wins games now.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, you wanted to hold teams to 17 points or less or 14 points or less, and you thought you were doing something, and you were winning the game 21-17. Well, how is that any different than winning the game 42-28? You know, and so that's kind of how football has changed a little bit. So that's just kind of how we do that, and it's just, pretty cool. You guys have any specific questions? So I'm just glad you guys have like knowledge of this stuff. That way I don't have to start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What is something like that I could help you with off top that would be beneficial?
I know I had a couple questions. Like I've obviously watched all of your mesh variation videos, but just like diving into those a little bit more, like what your favorite is. I think I know the answer, but
What on mesh?
Yeah, and then I just kind of compared to.
I can tell you what we're doing mostly now. And we've been lighting it up pretty much with this one. Is right. We're running the Mike Leach version more than
okay, kind of like Drew is.
Yeah, and the reason behind it is pre-snap, the quarterback gets to tell the running back which way to go. Okay. And now see, Leach doesn't do it that way. But what they're going to do is they're going to look at leverage. You know, which out has the better leverage.
Right.
Okay, so in this case, it'll be the left out has the better leverage. So he'll just tell the running back left, left, left. So he's going to swing that way. It still reads it the same, but it kind of gives him an opportunity to make himself right every time. You know, one of the good plays that that Longo and them love to run 3-by-1 mesh a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But part of being at a small school is, do you have time to practice mesh as much as you want to? You know, because anytime you get down inside a 10-yard line, mesh is gold. And you know, whether you're doing, you know, this deal, we hit that for a touchdown at 7-on-7 the other day. You know, we just did post wheel. You know, a lot of guys are running this one now. You know, they're putting that dig in there and they're reading it high, swing mesh. They're going 1, 2, 3. That's not a bad idea. And there's a concept that I want to talk to you guys about here in a few minutes. I wanted to, something I haven't done any videos about it. I really haven't talked to anybody about it, but I thought this would be a cool way to game plan. And I want to see what you guys think. I want to just kind of bounce it off of you like that. But I'll be honest with you, Zach, like coaching this part up and then just teaching those guys, and this is a mummy thing, because Leach doesn't do this, but you know, they get man coverage to climb at that 45-degree angle, and they're getting them to sit down. And the hardest part about it is those guys want to keep flowing. And it's like we tell these kids all the time. I think I heard somebody say it. The best way I've heard it said is find grass, attack grass, claim grass is a really, really good way to say it. So you want to find that grass, attack that grass hard, full speed, then gear down and get big. And then it just becomes like stick.
Right.
You know, if you're running it out of 3-by-1, Coach Sal's got me drawing slot now because we don't really run a lot of early with him. He don't like early like I do. But if you're running it out of 3-by-1, you know, kind of like this, one of the ones that he likes or that Longo likes is that snake route. You know, you're kind of running that, and this guy comes in and sits or crawls, and he ends up being wide open.
Gotcha.
You know, that there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube and stuff about snake, but they like that 3-by-1 snake mesh too. The biggest thing, to be honest, and this is what, I don't know how you guys are doing it, but when you're running mesh, you got to be able to protect it. You know, and so a lot of guys, they want a 6-man protect mesh because they can't protect it with 5.
Right.
And so you gotta convince yourself that swinging that back is the way to go. Because when I was at the college level, one of the big problems me and my head coach had was he always wanted to keep 6 guys in, and I'm like, well, these plays don't work if you're not swinging backs. Like the best way to stop, you know, pressure is to swing that running back. So that's cool. But hey, let me ask y'all a question. See what you think about this. And this might end up being a video at some point. Tic-tac-toe game plan. Okay, Coach, you probably remember this old school, you know, when you used to label plays.
Oh, yeah.
But when you coming into your game plan, coming up with ideas on, okay, what plays do I hit that have hole number 1? What plays do I hit to have hole number 2? What plays do I hit to have hole number 3? Right?
Yep.
Many times, you know, people want to say, well, what do you do against cover 2? What do you do against cover 4? What do you do against, you know, match coverage? What do you do? My question is where's the grass? You know, for instance, if I wanted to hit 6 right here, I could do it with sail. You know, I could do it with mesh. I could do it with out or flat. Of course, I don't know, that may be a little bit iffy on that deal. You know, but those are like my 3 plays that kind of get me in that spot. And I really kind of think flat is probably more here.
The thought process is very similar to piercing the bubbles.
Right. Right. But, you know, so, you know, I kind of wanted to see, like, when you do this stuff, so, like, you know, 6, wide corner, you know, these are different ways to do it. You know, wide corner right here with the snag. And if you start planning your offense like this, now you know as you move into the week, okay, this is the area. And then I got my little grid up there. If I'm sitting in the box or I'm on the sideline, I can just look at my grid and say, okay, this is where I want to attack. And so, you know, that's one of the things that I've been looking at, is a way to come up with a diagram for your offense to get into this kind of thing.
I have used something like that before with new offensive coordinators that were new to the air raid,
Yeah,
like a cheat sheet.
right.
So when they went up in the booth, since they were not so familiar with it yet, they had this basically on a letter size page all written out.
Yeah,
And then just what area do you want to attack? Those are your first couple menu plays to pick from. And it helped them a lot to get a better understanding of what concept is meant to attack what area.
and one of the things that I was you know, I talked to Coach Salas about is in our offense, we really have issues right here. Because we just don't run curl. You know, now we hit those areas with, you know, with wide cross coming in here. We hit those areas with, you know, the way we bend 6 calls and stuff like that. But it just, you know, when you look at it as a tic-tac-toe board and say, okay, this is how I get here, this is how I get there. I don't want to say it's not really revolutionary. It's kind of just commonsensical, but putting it on paper because people really don't think of it like that. Have you ever game planned like that? Like purposely? You probably have subconsciously, but have you done it purposely?
Oh yeah.
You know, where you just draw the graph up and you're like, hey, yes, yes, yes. And so when you're scouting a defense, you're identifying those bubbles, you know, and you're saying to yourself, okay, I know that shallow can hit right here if I hit that dig. But, you know, we're not running a lot of shallow right now. We've actually turned shallow into that running play that Oklahoma runs, you know, the what do they call it, shield or whatever?
Well, they have
They call
trail.
it spike. It's that
Spike.
you know, it's that you know what we're talking about, Zach?
Yeah, I think so, but
We're actually pretty good at this too, man. We're killing people in 7-on-7 with it's kind of cheating, to be fair, but you know, it is what it is. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Spike is the shallow converting into a corner at the end, right?
No, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is what we're talking about.
Spike. Oh no, wait a minute, that's trail.
So what we're doing is we're releasing to the safety right here. This guy's outside releasing and he blocks, and the fullback or the running back goes and blocks this guy. And he comes right through the line of scrimmage, right behind the line of scrimmage, and catches the ball right here. And then he just takes off running. And it's just because the minute this guy does this, he widens and he just turns and blocks on him. He's going in here. Everybody else is just straight pass blocking. So that kind of holds these gaps. Because, you know, they're still looking for the dig coming underneath. And it literally becomes a running play. The spike part of it is when he comes here and then he climbs and you throw it deeper. That's the spike part. But that's how we're running shallow right now. It's a behind the line of scrimmage. And he don't really go behind, but he's going like right where the offensive line was. And they're not going to call him because we're blocking downfield when the ball is thrown. So it's almost like a shallow screen. And that's actually a really, really good play for us.
Well, you ran quite a bit of the shallow screen to start with, right?
I'm
You
not
turned.
a shallow screen guy. Coach Salas is a shallow screen guy.
Okay, I knew I had heard you talk about it before.
And on his channel, he actually has some clips of that. There's some clips off the huddle. You know, that he's got some stuff looking at it. That's pretty cool. I'll show you something else that we're doing right now that's really cool too. And it's really been good for us. Is we're combining the slow screen with a slot fade. So what he's doing is he's pre-snapping this. And then if he doesn't like it on his third step, he drops and throws the slow screen to the tailback. And we're going 1, 2, 3 over here. And that's been really good for us as well. Because when they see, you know, when they see all of this and these guys are just kind of chilling, everybody else kind of comes over there. And that's been something that's really, really good for us too. That's just kind of new that, you know, isn't really in the other stuff. But so those two things are pretty awesome. How are you doing? How are you coaching six call, Coach P? Are you reading it inside out or left to right, or how are you doing it? Are you doing it the Mummy way, left to right?
I'm trying to still get a handle on it, but a lot of it is like Coach Mummy, left to the right. Now I have a quarterback that is very good in his progression and decision-making process. So I'm starting to work automatic on the inside receivers. They one sits down, the other one bends back, and just let him read it automatically, basically off the safeties. But they are a lot better at reading left to right.
Well, I can tell you that I have a hard time coaching it up myself sometimes. And Drew really helped me with this. So the way Drew teaches it is you want to find the tightest coverage. Okay, so you're looking on the outside, and whichever side has the tightest coverage is the side you work. Okay, so in this instance, we're going to work the right-hand side. Okay, mm-hmm. And you always work 1 to 2 to 3. So it kind of is, you're kind of doing like what you're saying, looking inside first, but you're picking a side and you're kind of only half field reading it. And it really helps for us high school guys because, you know, if you got a high school kid that can read the whole field, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're running because you're probably beating everybody anyway. But what we're telling him is he has to make a decision by 10. If he's capped, he'll sit. If he's up and out, he'll bend. If he's in and out, he can run an out. Mm-hmm. Okay. Over here, when he gets to 12, if he hasn't won, he does a back shoulder. So it's automatic. Like if I'm at 12 yards and I haven't won that takeoff yet, I'm going to gear down and expect the back shoulder throw. So that's how we do that. And then what we tell the Y is you got to be ready for the football as soon as you clear the second level. So as soon as you clear the outside backers, your head needs to be on a swivel, you know, looking for that hole shot. And this just makes life really, really easy. Now, Coach Salas has taken it a step further. He doesn't even run 6 calls anymore like this. He just runs choice. Have you seen any of the Baylor choice stuff?
I couldn't draw it for you, but I've seen it.
Okay. So what he's doing is, let's say, and I'll leave that over there, but let's say we're doing choice, and this is how we call it. We go 96X or 96H or 96Y or 96Z. That's it. Okay. What these guys do, they all run hitches. They're just running straight hitches. He's running, and his rule is the same thing. At 10, he can do this, he can do that, he can do that. And that's it. He's running and reading. And I can't tell you how many times, that's open. That little hitch, that little out, whatever. It's crazy. But if he wins the release, he's gonna take the roof off. If he gets to 12 and he hasn't won the release, he's gonna gear it down. Okay. If this guy is inside and in the middle of the field is open, like let's say they rotated to some kind of 3D, and he'll take it. And this is a great coaching mnemonic, Coach P. You know how sometimes when you go to a clinic, the best thing you get is just how to say something. When I went to Coach Longo a couple of weeks ago, I learned a word that changed my life. He calls this a grass post. Okay, so instead of running, a skinny or a bang 8 or a regular post, look here, run a grass post. And what does that mean? You're going to post inside to wherever the grass is. Hell, the grass might be here, the grass might be there, the grass might be here, but he calls it a grass post. And that just like, how you hear somebody say something, you're like, dude, why didn't I come up with that? Like that's so simple.
That's the one thing we all go for, right? When you go to those conventions, you walk away with one of these.
Yeah,
it was all worth it.
Those of us who are our age, most of them jokers like Zach, they go to the clinic and change their whole offense. We've all been there. Oh man, I heard this guy talk about this flex, but we're gonna put all of that in, and then the guy wonders why he's still a wide receiver coach when he's 32. I'm like, nah, dude, don't do that. Just learn something new, learn a whole system. But that right there, that was worth the drive.
Oh, for sure. That's a good one right there.
It's a great way to describe to those kids, like, listen, we talk about finding grass, we talk about doing those other things, but running that grass post. And so what we do, based on watching what everybody's doing in the secondary, we decide who runs the choice. And running it out of like 3x1 is really awesome. And the other thing that we do a 6-day insertion, believe it or not. And people are like, you're running a 6-day insertion. Really what it is we do the 3-day insertion twice. But on the second 3 days, we do everything out of 3x1. Okay, so the first 3 days, everything is out of 2x2. The second 3 days, everything is out of 3x1. But if you run, I keep doing this. If you run choice here, you could get a corner route, you could get a bender, whatever you want to do. But we always, when we run out 3x1, we have both of those guys running routes. We just tell the quarterback who he's looking at. So if you don't have a guy, or that you're going to get this kind of shell, now going 3x1, if they're rolling the cover 3, running that choice route really puts that flat defender in a bind. So that's kind of how that kind of deal works. But there's a bunch of Baylor stuff. Hey, give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, cool. All right, so y'all good on that? Any questions on that? Did that working half field? Did you get that, coach, about the 6 call? How to work that half field?
Yes, I did.
Does that help you any?
That sure helps a lot. Yes.
Because it really did simplify it for me. And it makes your quarterback feel special too, because now he gets to make a decision. Like, okay,
Right.
I get to decide. And sometimes, you know, if he's a younger kid, you can say, hey, look, I know that is tighter, but our dude is over here. So let's throw it to
Yeah.
him.
What I was doing for the most part is I was telling him to read it from the Z first, because the Z was our dude. And the Z in our system is the one that we move. We keep X and Y always as the concept receiver, left and right and on the line. But anyway, so Z either goes left or right, and he starts reading from there because he's the best guy to go deep and break it. And so the backside was always like I call it an oh shit route.
Yeah.
So where he basically goes to 15, and then if he gets to 15, he drops out to the outside. So the quarterback wasn't really effectively reading the whole field, but if he couldn't deliver the ball on 1, 2, 3, then he just turned backside, throw it to the sideline. It either goes out of bounds or we get a toe catch.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and that's also interesting. I'd like to do a survey sometime. I did it on the webpage one time, just where everybody puts their guy.
Yeah.
Ours is playing Y this year, so
You know,
but he's 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds. So
you can tell a lot about people by where they put their guy. Like if they're a crossing route team, or if they're a big, you know, one route team, or if they're a deep ball team, or like me, a screen guy, you know, where they put their guy is like kind of.
Yeah. My top 2 receivers possession wise are going to be X and Y. And those two are always the ones in the mesh. Those are just the guys that have the overall understanding. And because they're going to run either concept side or backside, they have up to 12 different routes to practice. Z is simply a speed guy that has great hands, but doesn't really comprehend as much as a receiver. So I have him limited to basically 5 routes.
Yeah.
So he either takes the top of it, and which allows me to use an H. If I have a fast guy, because I'm in such a small school, I can plug a tight end type in and line him up as a wingback basically, but run the same arrow routes. And if I put him in trips, he would be the number 3 on the trip side. He just carries his arrow route, and I teach the halfback or the running back to just always go opposite of H.
That's
the
thing. The concept I use to teach that, I tell kids all the time, hey, listen, if you and your homeboy are dating the same girl, it's okay as long as y'all don't both show up at our house at the same time. So if H is there, R got to be on the other side. You got to go somewhere else. So that's
I'm going to use that one. That's a good one.
You know, they tend to understand that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, those little colloquial. Now, see, for us, because we're running the inside mesh more than the XY mesh now, we put our bigger guys on at X and our smaller guys at H. We got a little speed guy at H. But to be honest, if you see us on film this year, you'll see a bunch of us. All 4 of our dudes look the same. They're all 5'11", running 4'8", you know, but they're just such good grass. They find great grass. They run great routes, and they do that. So, what kind of running game are you doing? You guys doing?
go ahead, Coach. You go first.
Okay, well, that's actually a really good question. I'm not sure yet. New school, I haven't seen the kids that showed up for running back ever. And it's the first time they're coming out to play football. So there's not even film I can look at. So, but looking at the offensive line, and a little piece of information, last year, they finished the season with 13 guys on the sideline and scored 46 points in the season. So
they only played 2 games. That's not bad.
They played more than 2 games. So they got to play a season. It was just horrendous. And so I was hired to change all that. So we're getting right now, well, we have roughly about 30 kids coming out, which is a huge step up from last year.
Right.
And especially if you consider that my senior class or upperclassmen is just 7 out of 30.
Mhm.
So my freshman and sophomore class is about 23 of them. So that's going to make for a really solid future. But anyways, back to the running game with those running backs. Looking at the offensive line being so inexperienced, I'm not sure if I can run inside zone. I think I will have too much penetration coming across the line of scrimmage. So I'm going a little bit towards running A-gap power and counter. Plus, it helps me a lot that OU runs the hell out of that stuff because the kids relate to it. They watch it every Saturday. They want to do it.
We're toying with putting inside zone back in.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're on that kind of that 3-day insertion. So this is what we're actually doing this year. We're running counter, power, and outside zone, but it's really mid zone.
Yeah, and we call it wide zone, but same difference.
Yeah, it's just really a mid zone, but you know, I don't want to upset the zone guys out there. But you know, one of the things that Coach Longo talked about is they want to be able to block every run against an even front, an odd front, and a bear front.
Yep.
He calls the bear front mid. I've never heard it called that before, but so you know that's kind of where he's at, is being able to block those things. So in 10 personnel, you can run counter and you can run power if you run stick. You know, you got to stick onto that play side guy. But I don't know how many 4 eyes you see. It kind of makes it hard.
Not really. They're still very fundamental here in Oklahoma. Like you get the 3-4 where they play true 5s and bring the overhang guy, and you know,
so nice.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah.
My favorite question I get on Twitter and stuff is, "Hey, Coach, how do you attack? Well, what do you do against 4-4 cover 3?" Anything I want. So one of the things that looking at counter out of our hero set, you know, and the way that we move our H is with H words. So we use hero and halo.
Yeah, this is just my regular trips to the right because I have this big tall H.
Right.
So that's where he lines up when we're in 3-by-1. So this is my
Coach Longo calls this Rio and Leo.
Oh, okay.
It's H trips or whatever.
Yep.
I just tried to keep it because we do, and I'm gonna draw it the way that I would draw it. You know, we have Y on the line.
Yep.
So we can go hero, flip, put Z over here, kind of staying with the mummy stuff. But you know, the biggest thing is when you insert that H, you know the defense is going to insert 1. So the question is how do you handle the +1? And you know, if you're just getting a true 3-4, you know, situation like that, we just tell our guys, gap down backer. That's all we want to do. And the way that I teach down blocks is I actually give them visual cues. So I tell them attack the far toe of the defensive lineman, the nearest defensive lineman. And so, you know, I don't use ear holes and things like that because if you attack that far toe and he comes across, you're going to be right down the middle of the man. And that's just kind of the way I was taught in college. So we attack that far toe, and then we get strong with that outside arm on that shoulder pad. That way we can try to turn the shoulders a little bit. But, you know, we're going to try to release inside as hard as we can to get to that guy if we're running counter. And we'll go here, and then we'll go all the way back. Okay? Now, here's the key for your H. Okay? If there's 2 things that you can do. If the force player is here, the +1 is here, you can go ahead and get him. You can arc release and get him. Okay, and if you arc release that H, what is that probably going to do with him? It's going to widen him a little bit. Okay, if that guy is still going down, you can block down with H and then kick and stick pull around. So there's two ways to do that. If this guy is out here, like on Y, then we can we'll block down. If he's kind of splitting the difference, we'll block out. Okay. And then it's kind of that gives us a way to deal with that +1. You know, if we feel like he's a threat, and game plan wise, we can say, hey, this guy is killing us. You know, everything is bouncing. But even if he hits it hard and he has to wrap around here, we're still bouncing. And then we go to the safety there. What we're doing now in our trips is we're actually just running a bubble. So we'll run a bubble to the same side that we run that guy. And so if this guy is killing us, you know, if we're going to try to block down here and he's still getting in trouble, we can bubble him out, which will stretch him as well. So there's different ways to handle that +1. You either go out to him, or you influence him, or you try to come down. But you know, we're gonna try to influence him as much as we can to give us, because now we got more hats than they have. Okay, and then of course, you know, we'll RPO that backside, anchoring this piece of grass. Okay, we'll anchor that piece of grass. And that's an interesting conversation, is whether you're reading people or you're reading grass. Okay, and we anchor that piece of grass. We can either do it this way, or we'll do it with a gift route on the backside. You know, we tell that quarterback, if that's wide open, you can stand up and throw it right now. You know, if we're not in trips, you know, if we're having a hard time with this, then we can go this way. We'll go flip. If we're having a hard time with that guy, and just read it, pull, run, and throw the bubble. Okay, so really interesting, you know, when you do that H, what it can do to help you. Now, interesting way to run it, you know, and you can do the same thing with this. A lot of times people will put him over here and use him on counter to help on the backside. Okay, so you can put it over there. So what a lot of people are doing is they're running power to the H, and they're running counter away from the H.
I'm actually using the H instead of my tackle.
The next thing I said. And because of that, if you're having a hard time, especially with this kind of deal, if he's inside right here, you post hinge right there, he kicks and the H rolls.
Correct.
Okay, so a lot of people are doing that. A way to do that, but not tip it, is to actually look at it like this. This was something else that I got from Coach Longo when I spent some time up there that day. Was there put the H right there, and the H has a pretty interesting rule. So let's say that they're running outside zone. Okay. But I'm sorry, he's over here. They're going to run outside zone. But let's say that the +1 is back here. Okay, let's say it's an even front, and the safety is just sitting back here. Okay, because they're going to stay kind of like this. All right. What he tells them is if the +1 is past the second level, he can come across the formation now. And it's just an automatic. It's not it's not a call from the coach or anything. He just say, look, if the +1 is back here, now we're gonna, work like that. He's gonna pick up that end. And that's where you can get into that chip waggle game and different things like that. But his rule is if the +1 is deep, he can now work back across the field. So that's pretty cool in that situation. But you know, Coach Pilgrim, if you're an old I coach like I am, you know that the gap series has always been power counter trap. You know, it's either, you know, power was the guard and the fullback, counter was the guard tackle, and trap was the guard fullback. So
That's why I run it out of pistol.
That's the old king.
It still looks like
it, or far near, depending on how you call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
it just keeps coming back to the same stuff over and over and over and over and over.
the stuff that still works is what it comes back to. And that's what I enjoy about it. Now I can combine these things, especially in 10 personnel. If I'm going through 10 personnel, I move my H out. I use my backside guard, and him making the distinction between kicking a 3 technique or outside of the 3. And if nobody shows to lead upfield, it all can be one thing. All he needs to do is get to that point where the 3 technique will be. If nobody's there, you turn upfield.
The way I coach that is we have them pull, and I always want them to pull with their shoulder square. So we're going to pull and run with our eyes. And then I tell them on their 3rd step, they got to make a decision. And so we normally just dip our shoulder on our 3rd step. And,
all right.
You know,
and the running back is doing the same arcing motion that we did back in the day with the fullback trap.
Yeah.
And therefore it hits real narrow right in the opposite A gap. And he gets in that hip pocket off that guard. If that guard turns upfield, he leads him right through it.
Now,
and if he gets squeezed down.
Quarterback wise, are you opening your butt to the play call? So if I'm running to the right, am I opening to the right?
I'm going left. Yes.
Yeah. So that's
kind of like midline.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
So, so, you know, if I was looking at what we're doing right now in the passing game, we're running choice, mesh, the Cougar mesh, Y cross, we're running shallow, but it's the shallow run. So shallow run. And that's pretty much all we're running right now in the drop back. Okay. Quick game wise, we're running stick to both sides, corner to both sides, and slant. So Coach Salas is a big slant guy. He loves slant shoot. It's his favorite play. So we're running the grass, sitting down in the grass. And what we always do is we read short side to wide side. So if we're on the left hash, we'll call 7, which means we're going to read this slant to that shoot, because we don't want that shoot to be out of bounds. And what we tell the shoot route is the arrow is if you get to the numbers, turn it into a wheel. So we're kind of doing that right there. And then we have fast screen, the double screen, and the combo screen, which is that slot fade slow screen that we were talking about. And then power, counter, and outside zone. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 plays.
Yeah, that's about all we're at right now too.
That's pretty much, and that's pretty much everything. I'm trying to think if there's something else.
That's pretty much exactly what we do.
Yeah. So, you know, that's, and once again, this really isn't a drop back for us anymore. It's a screen. So that's, you know, 4 screens. And then, you know, our double screen is just the old tunnel. You know, we're running the surge. He's reading there. So we're reading that. We're going to read this guy first and come back here. He'll turn and you throw it right there. And if not, he'll reduce and do that. He stays solid. And he stays solid. What we tell this guy is flip your hips and then release inside. We want that guy to think he's going to get beat. So we just tell him, go ahead and flip then rip and get flat. And that's our double screen. That's what Coach Mummy calls the surge screen. And that's a pretty good screen for us. But I mean, that's it, man. I mean, now in choice, it looks like 14 different plays. Mesh can look like 14 different plays. Y cross can look like 14 different plays. Because we have some different things. I think we're probably going to toy with putting the slot fade with Y cross, to kind of do some things like that. But
on your fast screens,
okay,
on the fast screen or the now screens, do you are you calling them or are they built in?
They're built into all of our runs, but we call
Got it. Okay.
We call them.
Say, I have a fast screen with every run play that I run.
Right.
But
okay.
Our thing is this: we call them. I mean, we call them like they're called quite a bit.
Okay.
We have a kind of the old Tony Franklin term. We have a NASCAR pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Play a 10-play pace, but everybody has to remember all that stuff. We call them. We're gonna throw this a bunch.
Yep.
Okay.
We're gonna do that. We probably don't throw as much. We probably run more bubble with our run or pedal screen with our run than we do our fast screen, because when we call fast screen, we want to throw it. And my outlook on that is this: when you have a screen on every run, I don't think you can play fast. I want that quarterback to freaking hand the football off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're messing around. We're going back. And it's amazing how we were talking about this, Coach, at the very beginning, how football goes back to where it was at. We're literally going back to that kind of old, remember the very first RPO people were running?
Yeah, your stick draw.
The stick draw kind of thing, but we're just running it with counter and power. And we're just telling that guy, we're going to run the old Joker route. He's going to come inside hard and try to find a sit down, and he's going to run the 5-yard fin, and we're just anchoring on that piece of grass right there. If that guy backs out, we'll throw it here. If he chases, we'll throw it there. And that's kind of the only RPO we do. And the funny thing is Coach Longo says that RPO efficiency is down below 30% now. They got that PFF stat package where people look at all this stuff, and he talks about having effective plays in your offense. And for us, we've pared it down so much that, we don't have anything in our offense that we don't think we can call against anything we play. And, and if I were to look at it like this, going back to what we talked about before, but if we tic-tac-toe this, choice can hit here, here, here. Okay, we're gonna look at all three deeps now. It can't hit shallow. Mesh can hit here, here, or here. And that's why mesh is such a great play. I mean, it fills 5 squares. Shallow, you got shallow here, and this is like 15 yards. I don't know how you would do it, but that's 5, 10, 15. So anything over 10. So it's going to hit there, and then it hits here, because we read shallow across the top. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not reading it across the top, you need to start reading it across the top, because this cat is open all the time.
Yeah, our dig is what we hit most of the time.
And we've even gotten to the point where we'll call 95 strong, and that means read the curl flat right now. and we literally will read the curl flat right now. But then you look at right here, stick, corner, slant. fast, double, fast, double, combo, combo, combo. And then we're handling this bubble with all the runs. And then shallow is over here. So, you know, we're looking at it like, okay, cool. So what are they giving us? This is where we're going. What are they giving us? And for a younger guy who's not as familiar with the offense, I think that's a cool way to kind of organize your thought process until you get to the point where you know the offense well enough that you know what hits where. You know, I mean, if you've been, you know, somebody like me who's been calling this offense since 2011, you know, I can kind of in the back of my mind say, okay, I need to hit number 9 so I know what I need to throw. But younger guys, you know, it's kind of a concept. Now, I'm probably going to do a YouTube video on this at some point. You know, I'll probably make a course out of it, but it'd be a nice little YouTube video to get guys talking as a way to game plan. But so that's kind of that. What else we got?
I know I kind of had a question for you. I know you don't run a ton of inside zone, but we've been kind of messing around with like duo versus an actual inside zone.
Well,
I just didn't know. What's your
thing about this now, and you know, I'll deny this publicly because I don't want to get trashed on Twitter. Inside zone versus duo might be worse than wing T versus air raid on Twitter, man. That's for those cats. I actually watched a duo course on CoachTube. I've got it in my library. It's a really good course. The problem with duo is you can't run duo without the H. You got to have an H or a tight end to truly run a duo. Because basically what duo means is 2 double teams.
Back in the day, we called that play 2 hard doubles.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But you can't run it without this guy.
Correct.
Because how are you going to block him? You see what I'm saying? And to be fair, if he's not in the box, you should be running the ball anyways. So it don't matter if you run duo or inside zone, but you have to have that
Right.
tight end or that H back to take care of him because these guys are double teaming here, and you know he's going to post hinge lock on that guy.
right?
So you have to have that tight end or that H back in there to run that duo, and so that's, you know, let's say it's like this, right? Well, now what you're doing is you're going to go here to here, here to here. He comes back across, blocks the backside guy. He's going down the ass of the center, you
Right.
know, reading that double team. But you can't run true duo without that 6th guy. And you know, Coach, you being a professional tight end, I mean, y'all probably ran a shit ton of that at the Vikings, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, no, it just the use of it. You know, you need that extra blocker, and you need to create that surface to make that 2 hard doubles work.
Yeah, I've not seen anybody convince me. I mean, and I didn't play at the level you played, but I was a Division I offensive lineman, so I know a little bit about line play. I don't see a way that you can run duo out of 10 personnel. Are y'all trying to do it out of 10, Zach?
Well, we are with my younger guys, just because when we're trying to run inside zone, we don't always get enough push. So with the doubles, that's helped a little bit. But the way that I have them doing it is the 2 doubles, and then we'll hinge, and then we'll just read the backside. So
Well, if you take care of the backside guy with a read by a quarterback, right, that will probably take care of that extra guy. But what also is a possibility that I have seen on the level that we're competing here right now, some of these ends are still playing like it's 1985 and come straight downfield, not
Right.
squeezing down or anything, and they run themselves out of the play by
Yep.
running this old school contain that you used to do against sweeps, and that'll take care of them without a tight end.
I think the danger in that thought process to me, and what you're saying is 100% true, is I want to prepare to win a state championship.
You're right.
Remember,
Yeah.
remember what I told you Coach Longo said? Coach Longo said they don't run anything that they can't run against even odd and men. So if you're counting on a guy running up the field, you know, if this dude is a bow bitch,
Yeah.
you're not reading him. You're not going to read him to stop the inside zone. Or what if they do this? A lot of guys like to exchange that zone read. If they see you're a zone read team, they're going to exchange that. You know, and you know, where are they getting their +1 from? Is he coming from the boundary? Is he coming from the field? You know, a lot of these teams now are running this 3 safety stuff, which looks like Tampa too, because that guy is just basically playing at 7 yards and running footballs down. So, you know, you got to figure out like how you're going to do it. But I just think now a way, Zach, that you can get away with it is this. All right, let's say we got that guy there, that guy there, that guy there. Is you know, double team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And run quarterback zone.
Right.
That's the way you can get a +1. But you got if you don't have a running quarterback, then you're in trouble. But
right.
I think if you're going to true duo out of 10 personnel, you got to have 6 guys.
Yep.
Now, what we like to do out of inside zone a lot of times is, and I cheat, guys. I mean, when I was at Fairmont, I wasn't very good, so I cheated because I used this a lot, and that meant check. So I told the quarterback every time we ran inside zone, I wanted to run into the 3 technique. So I would just give him zone check. And so he would call everything to the 3 technique. So he would do this, and then we would kind of double team to that guy and come here. And then we would block back right there. Okay. And then if this guy, you know, came here, then we would throw the RPO. You know, we'd anchor on that piece of grass right there, like we talked about. But, you know, that's what we would do. We would read that guy. So, you know, I would rather RPO off of him than pull off of him, because these guys are too good now. They've been, you know, about 7-8 years ago when zone read first popped off, you know, nobody knew how to stop it. But now you're getting so much exchange stuff. You know, if they try to exchange that, he's going to run into here. And now the RPO is sitting right there behind him, you know?
Yeah.
And just make it simple, you know, tell your quarterback, hey, we're going to anchor on this piece of grass right here. If it's open, pull it and throw it. If it's not, just hand it off. And you're never wrong if you get it.
Right.
You know, that's kind of, now the other thing that we like to do on inside zone is, and one of the things you can tell young linemen, Zach, to help them is, you know, and Coach P, I got these sayings, right? I try to come up with things that kids understand. I'm like, hey, man, you can't put your hand in her shirt until you kiss her. You know, there's first base, second base, third base. If you go straight for the shirt, she's going to slap your ass and you're going to get thrown out the car. You know what I mean? So you got to be so basically, you know, that's the kiss. That's the shirt. So we'll double team, you know, that one offside guy. We'll put 2 on the A-gap defender because we're trying to bend A-gap, right? We'll put 2 on that A-gap defender and tell him to ride it and come off late. So instead of trying to get 2 pushes, but the other part of that is this, especially at the JV level, until guys get their weight up, inside zone is tough.
Yeah.
You know, you got to understand, like, you got to have gap game in there. You know, gap. That's why everybody runs wing T when they're suck, because those angles take care of stuff. I mean, that's why they do it, because it's hard to zone if you don't have strength levels. And
Angles make weak guys strong.
but you know, the other key to that inside zone is really all you want to do is cover up color. Okay, we want, if I got on a white jersey, that's all I want my running back to see is a white jersey. I don't want them to see a black jersey or a brown jersey hanging off the side. So we just want them to stay as square as possible. They don't have to get a ton of movement, but you can help yourself out with wider splits, deeper offsets, and just getting off the football. And if you can stalemate at the line of scrimmage, you got a shot.
Yeah, we can't do that, so we stayed away
That's why
from
we run. That's why we run wide zone.
Yeah.
And the way we teach that wide zone, and this is another thing I got from Coach Longo. I love this little saying, but you know, we talk about race to the 5, and when you see color, cut up. So we want him coming hard at that 5 technique. And the minute color flashes, you know, let's say this guy beats him up the field, the minute that color flashes, he's going to cut up. If he comes down and he comes right there, the minute he sees color, he's going to cut up. But if he never sees color, he just keeps running. And that's been a really good that's been a really good deal. Race to the 5 and cut the color. It's kind of been a really good way to teach that to the running backs to do that. Now the way we block that up front is I like to drop, cross, and run. Not necessarily a bucket step because I don't want to turn my hips. But what I tell my guys, and this is a really good thing that helps them, is I tell them to attack the outside number with their inside hand. So if they do this and then they come with that inside hand, when that guy comes across, if he's attacking that outside number, if he tries to stretch, boom, he'll be right down the middle of him, and then they're square. And so we tell them if they're solid. If there's nobody in your gap, we want them to step with a leave. So we'll leave a hand right there, like if I'm a right guard and there's a shade nose, I'm going to drop cross, but I'm going to put that hand out there just in case that guy, so he doesn't penetrate as much, to give us an opportunity to run that play. What else we got?
That one was gold right there.
Yeah, I like that for sure.
And then think about that. If you incorporate that with this dude, you know, if the +1 is up here, he can go get him. If the +1 is not, now you got split flow look if you got that H in there, and it really helps. What else you got, Zach? We got time.
I'm not sure. Are you running the?
Hold on. Let me go fill this up. I'll be right back.
Oh no, you're good.
I'm on this gallon water a day thing, Coach. I try to drink a gallon a day during the summertime. We got that 90% humidity up here in North Carolina, man. You go outside and your shirt soaked. They don't know nothing about that in Illinois.
It's pretty bad here. I don't know.
Well, y'all been having some kind of heat wave or something this summer, huh?
It's been weird. I don't know.
We're just like Texas. We're in the hundreds.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah. I know I was gonna say this when we were talking mesh. I know we always go back to that. I know what we've been doing at our varsity level is we'll go post meshers, and then our Z runs like kind of like a hunt, like a little sit almost after the mesh clears. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that at all, or?
You're talking about pyramid. So you're doing this?
No. So we'll go post with the X, and then the H and the Y are still running the mesh,
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. And then our Z will run a sit right there after. Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll wheel the F out
Which way? This way?
to the right, usually. Or, yeah, to the right.
And which side are you starting on?
I usually, well, I don't know. We've kind of been debating it. I usually tell them to start on the post side, but I mean, that's kind of why I'm asking about it.
It looks like a good play. I mean, there are people that run that dig in behind that mesh. The only thing I would caution you on, man, is changing the progression to a concept.
Right. Gotcha.
And like for me, I probably would do this if I wanted to read the post first. I probably would do that.
Right. It's
because mesh wheel looks like that anyway. So you're still reading 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. If you turn yourself away from the mesh, you know, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. If you're waiting on a dig as your number one guy, I think that might be a problem.
Right.
But if you do it like this is a normal read here.
Right. So it's not quite a dig. It's more of like a snag that's.
It's a grass dig, right? Get your butt in here and sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, you're just going to find the middle. No, that's not a bad play at all. And you know, we just talked about that in tic-tac-toe, finding that middle area a way to get that. And there's a lot of guys. Coach Mummy has in his playbook stuff, in that little system he used to do, he has one he calls pyramid. Tony Franklin has pyramid.
Pyramid, yeah.
I've just never really run it. I don't. To be fair, I'm probably just not smart enough. I'm probably one of the most old school air raid guys. Like I still don't run Y cross on the left. I just don't do it.
Yeah.
I probably should, but Coach Longo did. He made fun of me when we were at Carolina. He's like, "Why don't you do that?" I don't know.
Well, I know I really like the Cougar mesh with the outs. I like that. I think it's. I mean, if they're going to give that to you, it's cheating.
I can tell you what, Zach. When the 7-on-7 stuff that we've done this summer, and we went to a couple of tournaments. You get down on the 10-yard line, them dudes are head up. That out is open every time.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, they're not expecting an outbeat to be put there.
Right.
And it's been one of those things where you get this, he pushes him and it breaks out, and you just throw it on timing. And then this guy is running with the back flaring that way, and that opens up. And so if you're on like the 7-8 yard line, that's hard to stop. We've run that for a 2-point conversion probably 10 times in 7-on-7.
Right.
So it's a good thing. Like I said, man, one of the things that I learned when I first started coaching football is whenever you start drawing up plays, passes in particular, you got to be able to block them first. So how are you going to protect them? We're going with
how deep are you running those outs?
Say what?
How deep are you running these outs?
10.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fairly fast process. I mean, it's basically a 5-step out.
5-step out. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, now I use yardage. I don't use steps because some guys are bigger than others.
Yeah.
We want them to push the 10 hard and then bust it outside. It's a speed cut.
I have decent experience with the steps, and it worked well for me because it helped me to time them up for the quarterback.
Right.
They might cover a little more ground in their 3 steps than others, but the timing to the quarterback with the snap was a little better.
Right. Well, and I will say this: if your quarterback's worth anything, he's throwing the grass anyway.
Correct.
So we're going to push the 10, pop that foot, break out hard, and we're going to throw it to the sideline. So it's either going to be complete or it's going to be out of bounds.
Got it. Okay.
And it's the same thing. We get up there, we're reading leverage. And we're sending it back to whichever side we want to go. I don't know. My favorite 2-point play is the one I got from Coach Mummy though. It's been money. So he does it out of blue. But just imagine doing it with your H-back right here. Let's kind of modernize it a little bit. But generally speaking, you're gonna have a corner sitting right there. This guy will be sitting right here. He'll be here. Backer. Safety. Okay. What happens is he comes in fast motion across the defense, and when he gets right here, you snap the football, and he's running straight to the back pylon. He's running stick, and he's running swing or arrow. So he calls it, that's blue flip move, Y stick. And what happens is you tell your quarterback, if that guy is in the Z's back pocket, throw it to the back pylon. If that guy runs hard with Z,
Throw the stick.
throw the stick. But actually, we go here to here. We go swing to stick.
Same as you would on a normal stick.
Yep, you don't change the progression, but that fast motion, it really, really works. It's a hell of a. I got that from Coach Mummy. That's like one of his favorites. He told me that thing about 7-8 years ago, and I've completed it several times in several different places.
Yeah, I run that type of progression coming out of a 2x2, motioning the backside guy over to the front, and have the 1 and 2 on the play side run slants, and then go behind them.
Yeah.
Like the old school wall.
Yeah, it's a rub. It's a rub. Coach Mummy likes to do it out of blue because it kind of guarantees you're going to get 7 men in the box. So
Yeah.
It keeps that extra force guy out of there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people do that. One of my other favorite ones is just to run stick, but use the quick game rule down here and throw the backside joker. That 5-yard fin is always open. Matt Mummy loves Z post. He loves stick Z post as a 2-point conversion. He kind of throws that one, kind of throws it up and lets this guy go jump.
Yeah.
Anytime you get press coverage working backside in this quick game is really, really beneficial. So what else we got? So I was kind of hoping you guys were like young, like rookies. I could have just said this makes it harder. It's a lot more fun to do it this way. But
I know, like one thing, I really liked your video you did about motioning and getting some different looks with that. Like, I know that's one thing I want to kind of get a better grasp on, like manipulating a defense based on doing that. I don't know if you want to hit some of that real quick or.
Well, there's two questions you have to ask yourself. First of all, is number one, do you want to play with tempo or not?
Right.
Okay. If you're going to play with tempo, I would not suggest messing around with motion.
Right. Well, we are going to run some jet though, so I think.
Yeah, that's that's part of it. That's kind of the second part of the question is like jet motion and stuff like that part of your running game.
Right.
But the problem with that is you're not going to be able to clear the whole formation in your play action. Because generally speaking, you're running jet, that ball is snapped right here. Right. Okay, so it's like you're not really going to be able to manipulate a lot of people with that. In this scenario, I would tell you to go back to the old air raid rule that we talked about earlier, how H and R are interchangeable. Yeah. So if you're running you run Y cross with jet sweep motion. He just becomes the flat on the backside of the curl flat. That part of it. Now, the other part about moving people is they're either going to run with them, bump to them, or roll to them. Okay, that's the three things that happen when you motion. Okay, so if you look at it like this, most people are going to handle most motions in the secondary. Okay, if they're bumping linebackers and stuff like that, that's when you know you got something.
Right.
Okay. If you can motion and it pulls a backer, like if I do that and he widens, now we're gravy trained, because now we can get a 5-man box and keep it moving. Okay, that would be a great reason to motion. Okay, but let's say they got the nickel on the weak side because they want to be a 2-deep shell. They're probably going to do something like this. If he goes in motion, he's either going to run with him, or they're going to go here, 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 bump to him, or he's going to come here, he's going to go there, and he's going to come there, and they're going to roll to him. Okay, so you got to figure out how they're going to respond to that motion to see if they roll to him, is that stick play we just talked about beneficial? If they're rolling, is that a beneficial play? I would say no, because are they going to be able to keep outside leverage?
Right.
Yes. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Because he comes across like that, he's just going to come here and he knows, okay, I can pick him up. I've got an angle, I can run with him. If I'm trying to run with this cat, which is the reason why you're running on 2-point conversions, because you see a lot of man coverage inside the 10-yard line. Now we know we can get that, but if they're just going to bump, if they're going to say, okay, he's going to widen out right now. As soon as he sees motion coming, he's going to widen out. He's going to take him. Now what do? You see? So you have to figure out, are they going to run, roll, or bump?
Gotcha.
And so as you're planning your motions, whether that's short motion, whether that's orbit motion, and a lot of times you're just using those motions. Like in for instance, when you watch a lot of Oklahoma and Carolina games and things like that, you'll see, a lot of this kind of stuff. They'll orbit motion, and it serves two purposes. Okay, it gives you your RPO, right? But what if they are bumping? Now where's your force player at?
Right, they rolled away from your run.
Yeah, your +1 has now moved away, and if that bounces, you see?
Yep.
You don't do anything arbitrarily, man. Some people just like to be smart, and they want everybody to think that they're smart. Okay, I sat in a room with a guy not too long ago, and they talked about, well, we just motion this and we motion why, and Longo looked at him and said, why are you motioning? Well, we just motion. They just like the way it looked.
Right, just to give them more to look at or something.
It's like living in South Dakota and driving a Camaro. You know what I'm saying? Like you can ride it like 3-4 months out the year, but the rest of the time it's kind of a waste of time, right? It's not practical. So just doing something to be doing it is never, it's counterproductive. I think to the philosophy of the offense. I think it's counterproductive to your time as a coach, because you're just trying to prove to people how smart you are. And to be fair, it's not how smart you are; it's what your kids can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll be honest, I got in trouble with that my very first game at Fairmont. Remember how I told you all my receivers and quarterbacks were playing basketball into that first week? Well, I had come up with this great idea to move people around. We were going to go fast motion here and do here, or we were going to go orbit motion. And I had a wristband for my quarterback. And then halfway through the game, I was like, this is your fault. I mean, we wouldn't have won even if we didn't do it, but I was trying to win the game, but it was way too much. And to be fair, it was a great game plan on paper.
A lot of times young quarterbacks have trouble to get their reads in once the defense start moving. I mean, what you do is you force the defense to react to your motion, which changes the picture that the quarterback should have taken pre-snap.
Right.
And so now he has to read on the fly moving parts, which is a lot harder than them lining up.
And that's why there was a Twitter exchange yesterday between Kurt Warner and Doug Maddox. And Doug was talking about reading players, and Kurt Warner was talking about anchoring on grass in the RPOs. You go look it up, man, you see it. And I think that's why it's so important when you're coaching these quarterbacks to tell them it doesn't matter what the defense does.
Correct.
Just what's the grass look like? And you know, I've said this 100 million times, but we talk about having an idea, and that's the term I use with my guys. You know, we're going to look inside at the box, look at the depth of the corner, what are their eyes doing, you know, and then we're going to adjust to it, you know, and that's it. So we're going to have that box IDA.
To me, it's just a lot of eye candy for the quarterbacks, and if they're not equipped to handle it, I'd rather have them do it static and then read the grass.
Well,
right.
The easiest way to teach your quarterback this though is you know, I think this is simple. And here's where you and me get in trouble, Coach Pete. Okay, because we're old school. I mean, I'm to the point now where I'm old school. I have to admit this. Zach doesn't have this problem. You probably don't play John Madden.
No.
Okay, these kids know more about football than we ever knew about football. They know coverages, they know formations, they know motions, they know hot routes because they've learned it on the video game. And so we sometimes can't comprehend that they can comprehend more than they know. But what I was saying is, look at this. And this is how you help your quarterback. All right, so that's your trips orbit, right? That's trips orbit. That shouldn't cloud your quarterback's picture. You know why?
No, that wouldn't.
Because that's just open.
Correct.
Okay? It looks like this, but when the ball snaps, it's 2x2.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? Yep. Or if it's this, when the ball snaps,
3x1.
Right. And so that's how you teach them, man. And that's one of the reasons why, like I said, we do the 6-day insertion. We do 3 days of 2x2, and then we do 3 days of trips. Okay? And so if you're going to do jet sweep, you're going to do stuff like that, you're going to do orbit motion to play with people, the way that you help your quarterback is to just say, hey, listen, if we were running inside zone right here, you would be reading that guy throwing to him. He'd be like, yeah, okay. Now, you're reading that guy throwing to him. You know, you're still throwing in the same box. And it doesn't have to be complicated. But look at this. And this is, you know, I did a video on this a long time ago about motion. Like, seriously, do you know how much trouble this right here causes people?
Right.
That fast motion out of the backfield. Run that right there one time with a play action fake, and you'll never see Y stick open that much in your life. Because dudes get scared. Because they don't know whether to bump, roll, how to do it. And generally speaking, that's a screamer dude, because you can do this right here and lead that. Now you got 3-on-1 on the outside, and it's a quick run. And if this guy has any wiggle, and they're not really, really talented right there, and then you really get bad, you can just do this, throw it here, and then double pass that thing. But so many times people want to get super, super complicated, but just teach your quarterbacks, we're starting in this formation, but we're motioning back to that formation. It doesn't change It doesn't change your progressions or anything. It's just like Coach says, it's eye candy. You know, it's like your girlfriend when she wears a good dress. Sometimes she looks better than when she's in jeans and a t-shirt. But she's still your girlfriend when she's got on jeans and t-shirt.
Yeah,
You know she doesn't look fat in it. So, you know, what else you got?
that's something I think we'll do quite a bit is the out of blue, because our H last year with some weather stuff, we got into running the ball a lot more, and we go, you know, 2-back set a little bit, and that's before we completely committed, and he's actually probably our leading rusher from last year coming back. So he can catch the ball. He's a slot kid, but he can run it. And then we have an F that's more of a downhill, one cut type guy too. So I think we'll do quite a bit. Yeah, I know. It's I don't know. It's strange because we got into some different stuff last year than what we started with, and now we've committed, and I think it looks a lot cleaner. So.
Well, and I think that's part of what some people don't tend to understand is, you know, they think air raid, they think you got to be 10 personnel, they think you got to be, you know, this, that, and the third. I mean, air raid really is about that process. You know, it's really, really about that process, and it's about, you know, just finding that magic rep. I mean, that's a hell of an offense right there.
Right.
The last 7-on-7 we scored 14 touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been really successful in 7-on-7, considering that they came off such a bad year. And I take the 7-on-7 with a grain of salt. But you know, I can't ignore the fact that we went to the 4A state champion team, and we competed with their varsity, and we won, so to speak, against their JV. So for that team, that's a huge step up. And I was planning that as part of giving them confidence and something to play for, because the overall motivation in this school was horrible after last year. So I just was hanging my hat on anything positive that I can accomplish, so I get a greater buy-in from the kids once we start hitting it next week.
One of the things that Lou Holtz said in his book, when he talked about turning around programs, is that you have to celebrate every win.
Yes.
You know, guy got 5 pounds on his bench press, man. That's a big deal. You know, we scored a touchdown last year. We got shut out. That's a big deal. I mean, that's the way to change cultures. And when people start believing in themselves, man, you'd be surprised at what they can do and what they can't do. So it just, it's very, very interesting to me when I talk to people. You know, Coach Salas is real big on culture, and we spent a lot of time, him and I both, at different times, talking to Randy Jackson, you know, the culture book guy. Have you ever read Culture Defeat Strategy?
I don't think so. Nope.
This is part 2. But this guy is, let me focus in and say, I'll back up. This guy, Randy Jackson, he just retired in South Carolina, in Texas. But that book right there is phenomenal. And he talks about going to places and changing culture. It talks about tough people winning and you know, family and attitude and just it's just phenomenal what he's been able to do. You know, and as I've gotten into it, when I was Zach's age, any chance I had to absorb, you know, X's and O's, I was all in on it. Once I got to be, you know, in my late 30s, early 40s, and had been a head coach a few times, you know, I was about culture and program building. And because, you know, once you become a head coach, you really don't get to coach a lot of football. So it's everything else. So I'm like a bug in a rug now. I don't have to deal with some stuff. We had a little minor discipline issue we had to deal with last week after a 7-on-7, and Coach Salas was all upset, and I was just looking at him smiling, and he's like, "Sure." I got to deal with it. I get to go home, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, but it just, like I said, man, it's part of that process. What else we got? I think there's been a lot of like little nuggets, you know, that grass post, that outside zone blocking scheme. I think that rule with the H, if you're
Yep.
not there letting them go backside, I think is really cool. What else, Zach?
When you run like your power, are you running it with your H or are you running it 10?
Both.
Both. That's what I figured.
When you run it out of 10, you have to call what we call power stuck. And we ran this at the college. You have to block out.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you're gonna run it like that.
Right.
And then you kind of RPO that backside guy if you can get there. It's not the best deal in the world. I like to run a lot more power read. You know, if you're gonna run power, I would suggest running that. That's a great play to run out of your jet motion. Do y'all run much power read?
Yeah, I think we will this year. We have our quarterback's pretty athletic at the varsity level, so the more we can get him moving and just being athletic would be good.
The key to that play is the quarterback taking those 2 shuffle steps.
Yep.
And the other sneaky thing to do is back him up 1/2 yard.
Okay.
Okay, most time their feet are at 5. We put their feet at 5.5 when we run power read. It gives them that extra split second to make that read.
Right.
That's a nice little trick. You know, you're doing that slide step. You know, he's riding 1, 2, make a decision. Never wrong if he gives it, but if you back him up 1/2 yard, it really, really makes a difference.
Are you getting most of the time where the end will actually fly up with that jet, or do they see that down and kind of sit?
Depends on how good your H is.
Yeah.
Depends on how good the other coaches are.
Right.
It also depends
It's
on
like
how good and educated that end is.
Well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
And that's where I was getting at, depending on how good that coach is. You can learn a lot. Like, I'll be honest, the first thing I do when I watch film is I want to look at the very first offensive play of the game. I don't care if I'm a defensive coordinator, head coach, offensive coordinator. I want to watch the very first offensive play of the game. And this is all I'm looking at. I want to see how their offensive line looks when they're in their stances. If the offensive line is all bowed and whatnot, if the receivers aren't lined up tight and everything, what does that tell you? It tells you that those coaches don't pay attention to details.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you see them jokers and they're all straight lined up and they look good, their depth is nice, they look like, you know, everything looks sharp, then you know those guys are the same thing. And then looking defensively, it's the same thing. Are they crowding the ball? Do they have good stances all over the field? Do they look like they know what they're doing? You know, these are things that help you make those decisions. You got to find. I mean, it's really, you know, football is not really a complicated game. It's block, tackle. There's, you know, 7 gaps or whatever. But it's who pays attention to the details. You know, I tell our team all the time, championship teams are the teams that handle the bad stuff the best. Everybody's good on first down. Who's good on third down? I promise you, the Super Bowl champion probably had the best third down percentage, you know, in the NFL, I would imagine. You know, they're getting on and off the field the most. Or they're converting third downs more than anybody else. And that generally makes it, you know, in the NFL, you know, the NFL is bred for mediocrity. You know, the salary cap and all that stuff, it's supposed to be, everybody's supposed to be the same. You know, and it's not like Major League Baseball where, you know, the Yankees can put the, you know, $800 million team together if they really want to. So on and so forth. And then the Royals are like, well, you know, it is what it is. So what else we got? Any defensive questions, anything like that? You know, we talk defense, we want to talk defense. It don't matter to me.
I don't know if I got anymore off the top of my head.
So why have you gotten away from running sail? What was the trigger for that?
that zone is already overloaded.
Okay,
If I'm running that out with mesh, what do I need the out with sail for?
true.
You know, and I think when you're trying to minimize, you know, your list and things like that. For me, sail has always been a play action play for me, or a rollout.
Yeah,
I like to roll the sail, but I just never found myself calling it, man.
yeah. My quarterback just really loves sail, and he has a really high completion percentage on it. And I know we're gonna run it.
Hey,
Basically, just because of
I ain't
that.
mad at you. There's a reason why it's in the package.
Right. I mean,
You know, there's a
that's
reason why it's in the package, but you know, everybody has their own air raid personality, and mine just doesn't include sail for whatever reason.
right. Okay. I just wanted to know if there's a different reason for it than
No,
stuff that I've seen.
I mean, I teach it, and we've tried to run it at different places. I just
Because some,
in my play calling, I just don't go to it. I'm just gonna call 6.
some years I run it, some years I don't run it. Like you said, it really depends, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the, you know, it's in the Foot Locker. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yep.
okay, if I
Yep.
think we got a guy, an inside H who's got a good size level to him. I mean, it's a strong flood. It's the you know, it's the complementary play to Y cross. I mean, it's strong, sail is strong flood. You know,
Staircase play,
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, but
just climb. Yeah.
you know, I kind of get the same thing out of Y corner. And I'll tell you something else that people have been trying to convince me to do, and I think we might do it a little bit more, is, and Leach runs a lot of this. I'd like to see us maybe run a little bit more scissors. You know, run a little bit more scissors play. And
Yeah, I have to look at that for a good minute because my quarterback loves throwing the corner route to Y, so we love Y corner. But for some reason, he's not having a whole lot of success with it. And we're still trying to fix a couple of the small mistakes he's doing, but just giving him something else to look at right there. And
too.
Yeah.
Corner
Yeah.
with Sluggo.
Yeah, Sluggo, yeah. Yeah, we run that. We run it just based off the regular corner.
Yeah.
Just at Sluggo.
What is what are you teaching your Y on corner? How many steps is he going?
It depends on the field position. So if we run it close to the 20, it's a 4-step, and going up to a 6-step corner route. He starts with the outside foot back on that. I have to say that. So we're starting on.
Coach Salas doesn't use inside feedback or not. My question would be probably the problem that your quarterback is having is you're changing the route too much. Why not just run a 4-step the whole time? Because here's what we do. The way I was taught,
Yeah.
if you're outside the 25, you angle to the front pylon.
Front pylon and then the back
Inside
pylon
the
inside.
25, you go to the back pylon, but it's always a 4-step. And then what you teach the quarterback is he's going to break at 4 right in here, and then you throw his ass open. Could be here,
Right.
could be here, could be here. You throw that ball to the grass.
Regular grass read, yeah.
And it makes, you know, because when I got to Hopping with Coach Salas, we weren't throwing, you know, I said, why aren't you throwing? Well, we're just not really good at it. So I talked to the quarterback. I was like, hey, look, man, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, man, we're throwing that thing like $1 million.
I like 4-step better anyway. So it was just
I wouldn't change it. I think anytime you make a kid think, not only that, it changes the timing.
correct.
You know, and if that's the number 1 read, a 6-step route on the number 1 read, now you're taking everything else away from him because the back's probably covered by then. You know, he should make that decision. He should, if there's somebody in this grass on his step, he should be coming right here to here.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I see that.
you know, and so no matter where you are on the field, it doesn't affect him. You know, and I think if you get back into that kind of concept of, and coach, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. We've been talking about this. You just want to be smarter than everybody else, or trying to change something that doesn't need to be changed. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
Why do you feel like you need 2 more steps when you're further out in the field? Because we're getting greedy. You know what I mean? We're getting greedy.
Yeah.
We're changing. That changes the grass we're reading. It changes the timing of the play. So if you're running that all the way down the field, and then you get down into the red zone and you're changing it, you're not going to be as efficient.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's
I'm guilty.
changing for the hell of it. Changing for the hell of it. It just it's wild.
And changing for the hell of it is the biggest it's the biggest mistake in the area. And you're not the first nor the last guy that's gonna do it.
Oh, and I will keep doing it. I know I will.
And but I will tell you my Mike Leach story. So matter of fact, this is me and my Mike Leach moment right here when we were in San Antonio. I had opportunity to go down on the Riverwalk and have dinner with Mike Leach and Coach Mummy. And we were talking, and they were talking about some concept. I don't even remember what the concept was. I was just happy as hell to be sitting there, to be fair. I wasn't even, I just knew to shut the hell up and listen. And they were talking about some concept, and you know, Leach drinks bourbon like a fish. Like, he loves bourbon. Him and Mummy could kill some bourbon. They were just sitting there drinking like a fish and they're having a good time or whatever. And you know, he looks at me, all of a sudden he says, "What do you think?" And you know, at this point I'm like, oh my God. But you know, I basically looked at him and said, you know, I liked what they were talking about, but I was trying to figure out what I had to take out to put that in. And he looks at me, he says, "Yo, you get it." And I've told that story a bazillion times, but that right there is really indicative of what air raid is. And like, no matter what level cutting up a little bit, it just you know, you have to fight that urge to do that kind of stuff. So I had a chance to go down to Dallas. I don't know if y'all saw me wearing my Renegade shirt today, but here I'm gonna give you.
I'm 2.5 hours away from Dallas, so we're close.
I'm gonna give you guys a sneak peek on some stuff that not very many people have. But these are the mesh cut-ups from the Renegades.
Okay.
And you can see, you know, just how many different ways Coach Mummy runs this stuff. And but you know, this is that typical 3x1. You can tell right now they're calling mesh, so they're switching it up. See how that little bit of motion right there, Zach? What did that tell the quarterback?
Where they're bumping over? Yeah.
They were going to bump. You see how that little bitty of motion told them all kind of stuff. That's why you run motion.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. I think that kind of stuff's interesting, just what they're going to tell you based on just that. I mean, he only took, 3 steps, and you're able to learn that much.
But you know, he's sitting there talking to him like, okay, I see it. And then we're just going to motion that guy. And then there it is. Boom. And see, those guys are good enough that they read mesh as one route. My guys read mesh as 2 routes.
Yeah.
See,
me too. Front to back.
Yeah. You can see kind of the same thing. Here it is. And there's that little out. And that's kind of how it looks, Ty. It's just that 10-yard out. Now they're doing it out of 2x2 or 2x1, but if you notice, that's where those 2 guys are meshing would be the same way if they were in 10 personnel. Okay. But look at that out. I mean, it's just like stealing. It's bang. We'll take that, keep it moving. And that was on 4th down. It's the only thing I don't like about Team Extreme is it doesn't have a remote. I mean, but he just basically goes down the field almost the entire game and runs the same play over and over and over and over and over.
Right. I'm assuming it depends on the speed of your mesh guys, but do you have your guys tightened down very much to run mesh, or do you just
I call it performance alignment.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
I call it a performance alignment. Some guys can line up tighter, some guys can't. And to be fair, with us being running it with the slots so much right now, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay, because if they're running it in the slots, they don't have to tighten down. But if you're running XY like Coach does, or like I used to do a lot, then you definitely have to.
Right.
Oh, my X and Y, however, are always sitting at 5 yards. So even if he is the number one,
Your X is that tight?
yes. So I'm just moving Z and H around.
Right.
So
see, I don't. My X is always on the numbers somewhere. He's either at the bottom of the numbers or the top of the numbers because we run so much 6 and we run a lot of fast.
Yeah,
by me lining him up this close, giving him that as a number, I still get him to the numbers as soon as I get to the hash mark.
Right.
So I can, it just helped me to tell them, hey, I need you to be consistent. And it helped me time everything up with a new team by telling them, hey, you're 5 yards off the tackle, on the line, you're always on the right, you're always on the left, let's roll.
Right.
It just made everything so much easier. And they have more route options to learn, but they never move positions.
Right.
So now I create formations with H and Z who have a lot less route options to learn, but they now move around.
Well, I mean, if you look right here at Coach Mummy, I mean, he's basically in the same situation you're in. That's how they are.
Yep.
Now you're playing pro hashes, which makes it a little bit different. I mean, but you can see right there, they put a streak on that deal. So it's, there's a bunch of different things that you can do with that. Let's see what else I got in there.
I actually have the impression that it helped my mesh and the way the mesh develops and the timing for the quarterback to read front to back has helped ever since I gave them this strict 5 yards outside the tackles. Before I ran it, it was more like others do, where you move them in and out depending on field position. And it was never as quick and easy and clear. Right now, it seems to be a really smooth process. Just like Coach said, we've been able to go mesh down the field without ever making a change. It's just because it was gold.
Yeah.
And then I had years before where mesh just wasn't clicking right. So now it's working.
So look at this cut up right here. For us, we would run mesh to the bottom. Okay, see how he's inside, this guy's outside. So we would swing this guy this way. The college guys, they don't really do that. They just, this guy's going, I'm gonna read, blah, 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 blah. But we would run mesh to the bottom and we would get that little 10-yard out, bang, stick it, and we would throw it right there. And I'm not so sure that the quarterback, we have to look at it from the end zone copy, but I think he's looking at that out too. He just doesn't like how it looks. Yeah, he's looking at it. So he pre-snapped that short side route. The thing that he didn't do is he didn't send the back that way. And so what we do is we tell the back to go, the quarterback tells the back where to go, which side he chooses, so that we have the same read. Because now he had to come, okay, he didn't like that, so now he had to come he had to break, contain, throw the mesh here. But, we would want the back to be ready to be thrown to, to the right-hand side.
At this point, I have a question though. Sure. On your quick games, not necessarily mesh, but like stick and white corner, are you guys still utilizing ball calls on the backside arrow route? Because I'm sure you guys run slant arrow on the backside.
We never look at the backside arrow.
So if the guy, he doesn't call for the ball, if he's wide open, you guys don't run ball calls?
No.
Okay.
We're going to do this right here. And then we'll read short side slant to wide side slant,
Right.
the front side arrow. So we'll do that. You know, he's going to come in there and try to find a place to sit. And then he's going to come out here. And then we'll send him on some kind of wheel route over that way. But no, we don't really do that.
Okay.
I think that's, I mean, it's not bad to do, but it is for us. Like if we were running, let's say we were running Y corner down here right now,
Yep.
we would want him to be a little bit wider, and we would run an inside sit with a 5-yard in, and we would probably throw that because it's press man.
Okay.
You know, that's just, I try not to, it's kind of the anti-Paul Johnson. Have you ever heard of Paul Johnson's if-then list?
Yeah.
If they do this, then we do that. And if they do this, you know, the air raid philosophy is we don't care what they do. We're going to run the grass and do that. So, you know, we try not to get super, super complicated with it. I mean, that's a Z post right there on the mesh down here towards the goal line. And so, like I said, you can do so many different things with that, you know, and obviously, see, I would have, you know, I'm looking at film now, and I'm sure you're pretty sure he got told the same thing. I don't think that post was ever there. But look at that backside mesher coming. He probably could have hit that backside mesher and he beats him to the front pylon.
Right.
You know, I don't know exactly what Mike was telling him on that. Maybe his pre-snap said, okay, here, let me throw it. He got a little bit of a pressure. And I mean, to be fair, it was still almost complete, but you know, just as you're teaching, you know, like right here, if you're running fast screen to the top right there, normally we tell this guy to go flat for 5. Okay, go flat for 5 and block him. We probably at this situation would block here and just take one step and bounce and try to make this guy miss.
Most dangerous.
Yeah, we would block most dangerous. So, you know, that's just one of those times where you say, okay, be smart, be a football player. But you see the way those outs look down here in this area. See that guy up top, he's an inside. Throw that ball to the front pylon.
Right.
Push him hard, bang. You know, I guess he just didn't like it front side, but you know, push that guy inside hard, stem him and throw it to the front pylon. You're either going to catch it or it's incomplete. Because they're running man coverage. So, you know, there's just different ways to really do these things. And none of them is really right, wrong, or indifferent. But the one thing that I would urge anybody to do is to try to be consistent with how you're teaching stuff. And let's see, where is I thought I haven't been in here in a while. I got some stuff. Drew sent me some stuff too that I got. That's pretty cool. Like you watch Drew's shallows. I mean, and Drew's team is, you know, slow white kids.
How big of a school is he at, Coach?
It's a 2A school, so probably around 700.
Okay.
I mean, it's up in the mountains though, so they're you know, it's kind of cold weather, and I mean, you can kind of see there he don't have a lot of fast twitch out there. They run great routes, and you know they get after it. And he's in a tough conference though, like some of the schools he plays. But you know, if you're running shallow, like this is the simplest way to do it. Now, I'm doing something different with shallow than I used to do. Like, I take this guy now and he runs a quick 5, and that's the pre-snap. So right now, if I can throw that gift route, if I can throw that 5-yard out, my quarterback catches it, takes one step, and throws it. If he doesn't like it before he snaps the ball, he is now dead. And this helps me read the play faster. He's going to run a grass post. Okay. So he's reading whatever safety's right here. Right now, there's a single high safety. So is the grass post there? No. we're not going to throw a post into a single high safety. All right. But let's say he was right in here, right? If that guy takes one step up, he's going to throw the post. Okay. So he'll take 1, 2, 3, bang that post. If that guy takes one step back, that's off. Now he just goes shallow dig back, shallow dig back. So we kind of have a couple of different concepts built into our shallow cross game that I haven't been doing in the past. But it worked out pretty well for us at Fairmont. Towards the end of the year, we got good enough to run it. And, you know, I had a 10th grade quarterback. He's got a real strong arm, but, you know, he was new to the offense. But, you know, right here, throw that 5-yard out. Boom. We'll take that. And because here's the other thing. This guy right here, he's running a love of the game route. That's what they call, one of the guys from Texas called it a love of the game route. Like he's running that route. He ain't gonna get the ball. He knows he ain't getting the ball, but he's just running that hard. He's running that hard vertical for the love of the game. Okay, well, if he ain't gonna get the ball, why not just throw a 5-yard out and save his legs? He'll like you a whole lot more. Okay, and then give him an opportunity to touch football. Hey, you got the quick 5, brother. The wide receiver closest to the shallow has the quick 5. The wide receiver closest to the dig has the bang 8 or the grass post. So now it's him instead of him running this love of the game route where he knows he ain't gonna get the ball, and you're just trusting that he's gonna do his job for his homeboy. He's now running a 5-yard out. And he'll give you everything he's got because coach loves me. He ain't trying to run my legs to death. That's a way to keep him happy. That's a way to make him play hard. But you can just kind of see with Drew's guys, they just going in there sitting in grass, and you know he's got a pretty tall quarterback that can sit back there and see everything. I ain't never had a guy.
That's pretty good too, isn't he?
He's not bad. He signed with a D2 school. The knock on him was his weight. You know, I talked to a couple of college guys because I was trying to help Drew. You know, and I had a couple of guys look at him. He was thin, and you know how that is. I mean, put him on a training table.
Right.
Anyway, but
Won't be thin very long.
A lot of people thought he was a little wiry. I mean, you could look at him; he is wiry. But see, like right here, you know, that didn't clean itself up very well. But look at that 5-yard out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Look at the 5-yard arc. Catch that thing. Make this guy play some football. You know, so that's how I run shallow now. I have a quick 5, a post, and then shallow dig. And I really like it that way. Like this kid got away with a mistake here.
I like the philosophy on the love of the game route.
I'd never heard it called that. I've always done it. I just never had it called love of the game route. The guy said that was one of them things I got at the Longo Clinic. He's like, yeah, man, we got to run a love of the game route. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, yeah, he's just running deep. He knows. I was like,
yeah, I'm probably using that. I'm pretty sure of that.
You know, so we try to, you know, I try to find as many ways as possible. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, that we run that choice route so much.
And
instead of those guys running verticals and knowing they're not going to get it, they just all hitch up.
Yep, because I don't have that many kids, and I gotta be concerned about the ability of keep running the routes, and that's why we don't go tempo this year. I'm gonna call everything out of a huddle because I taught them how to do recovery breathing. So I want them to just huddle up to breathe. I will still use one word call so we can go fast in a 2-minute drill or whatever. But for the most part, I have them huddle up just so they breathe and recover and then go up for the next one. So I dig that to not go deep on those.
Well, like I said, man, we 2 platoon at a 1A school. We play with tempo. So, I mean, but we're in a different situation than you're in right now. You know, we're in year 4.
I love 2 platoon.
Coach Salas is in year 4 of the program. So this is my first year with him, but you know, we've done a lot, or he's done a ton to work on the culture of that team. And I've never been around a group of kids where you just blow the whistle and they get after it. You ain't got it. We don't coach up effort hardly at all. In the weight,
I love that.
They come in the weight room and they're just a joy to be around, bro. I mean, it's phenomenal. I had an opportunity to go to a couple other places. I went up there, spent 3 days with Joe on 3 different occasions, and I just said, you know, I want to be here. It's a real school, but they're just
sounds
if you're gonna be with people, and I say this about your coaches and your players and everything else, but if you're gonna be spending 12 hours a day with folks, hopefully you like being around them.
Yep. You're absolutely right.
You know, in some situations, you know, you can't necessarily get that. But I mean, like I said, you can look at this right here and you can say, okay, if I'm gonna run 6 right here, I'm gonna run it down to the bottom. He's gonna take off. If he hasn't won by 12, he hitches back, and I'm gonna read inside to outside. So now you kind of taking that away. If I'm running, you know, the first thing I'm asking my quarterback is what kind of coverage are they in? And if he sees that guy tilted in looking at him, he better tell me, coach, they're in zone. You know, so we know right now where the outs are. If we're gonna run mesh, you know, that's a home run ball there. We ain't got the arm to throw that. So I probably wouldn't call mesh from the left hash if I could get away from it.
Right. Coach, I do have a question.
Sure.
On shallow, I know you teach it with the bubbles sometimes.
Mhm.
If you're gonna do the gift, would you send your F to the swing to the dig side, even though the shallow's still coming that way, or what would you do
No, hold on.
to fill bubbles?
No, I don't change any of that stuff, man. You know, it's the bubbles help you if you're gonna teach it when you initially teach the concept.
Right.
Okay. But you gotta understand I'm not gonna gift route if I'm running X and Z on the shallow. There's this, I mean, I guess I could. I never really thought about it. Now you got me thinking about something. Because I could do this. But I would have to change the way I'm doing it. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I was saying even if you'd
have to change which way the gift was coming. And I don't know that I want to do that. Now, if with that 5-yard out, I'm still going to run the back over there because that's what he does. Now, I don't know about Coach Pilgrim, but I can maybe count on one hand, the number of times that we've gotten to the 5th route. Generally speaking, I like to flash fake him across the quarterback. We don't even ball fake him, flash fake him, and he's gonna stick in there for pro.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking. I didn't know if your gift out kind of counted as your high side bubble there, or if it was your
and that's why this is kind of different. Okay, this is shallow 2021. Okay, like 2020 and 2019, we had 5.
Right.
Shallow 2021 is a little different. It goes here, here, here. You see what I'm saying? We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, or pre-snap 1, 2.
Yeah.
And as you see, and in your shallow concept that you like to run now, the shallow run, the running back can swing to the same side as the shallow goes because he's widening the overhang player.
Lincoln Riley does that all the time. He calls
it. Yep.
I think if you look at there's a Coach Tube course where he did a clinic at the Texas Coaching School, and he talks about trail. That's what he calls trail.
Trail. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can run shallow trail too and do it that way.
And it works great, especially at the high school level. I have seen them because a lot of the linebackers get jumped on. You got running back out of the backfield. They play us, and because we're converting so many passes, swing passes to the running back, so the linebacker coaches get onto them, and they now get sensitive about it. You start swinging that way, that kid is on his horse, and they start flying out, and there's nobody on the backside to see the shallow coming in anymore.
I mean, and if you think about it, how many times on the channel have you heard me talk about, the best way to counter blitz is to throw it to the back?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he's generally your best athlete too. So, I mean, it's swing the back, swing the back, swing the back. And look, you can't get away with swinging the back in 7-on-7. It never looks good in 7-on-7. Because everybody knows I got 5 guys to cover. That's going to be one of them guys I cover. But the minute you start, first down, they don't know where the ball's going. They don't know if it's a run or pass. Then you got a whole other ball game to look at. So I think that's really important. But yeah, I don't know, Zach. I don't know as far as the bubble concept. The new shallow kind of takes the bubble concept out of the play.
Okay. Yeah.
But the reason why I went to the new bubble, to the new shallow, was I do not want that LOG route because we never threw them.
Right.
And
Yeah, I get it.
Shallow was invented off of 6.
Coach
I'm
gonna steal it straight up.
Like this, he runs verticals, and then if he calls shallow H, that becomes that, and that becomes that. But it's 6H to him. He doesn't call it as a separate play. He'll call it 6H, 6Y, or whatever. We call it 90, 91.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, there's 100 different ways to do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna straight up steal it like that.
Yeah, I
Hey,
think
listen, I'm telling you, guys, it really makes a difference. And here's the key: what you tell that quarterback is, if let's say if it breaks off just like this,
Oh,
when he catches that ball, it's literally one step with his right foot, and he's banging that 5-yard out. And the reason why you can do that is if he hasn't on pre-snap, okay, that guy's within 7 yards, I'm gonna kill it. His eyes now, when he takes that ball, he's taking his 3 steps. His eyes right now are on that safety. And if that safety takes 1 step back, his eyes immediately go to the grass. So then it's grass, like it always is.
Yeah.
You can trail it, or you can send him back across. As a matter of fact, I never really thought about trailing it, but that's a good idea. I might have to steal that. That might be my nugget for the clinic. I've always found out that when you teach something, you always learn something new. So that's the teaching point to that, to help your kids, is if your slot is running a shallow, you're running it out.
Right.
Okay. So if Y is running it, and Z's running the quick, he's running the dig, and you tell X, if your slot is running a dig, you're running a grass post. And so now you got an opportunity that you're gonna force yourself to look deep. You're gonna force yourself to kind of work. You're kind of reading it high, low, medium instead of low, medium, high, or high, medium, low. But it just works out great. Me and Shane Dular talked about this for 20 minutes one day on the phone, and I was like, "Well, Shane, what do you think? A hitch or an out?" He said, "Nah, man." He said, "I should have been throwing speed outs to the outside for the longest time. I never did." He said, "It's just a better throw. It's an easier throw." And you put them at the top of the numbers, or the bottom of the number. I'm sorry, you put them at the bottom of the numbers and let them work to the sideline. Bang, you're done.
Yeah.
And it's just, everybody's throwing a gift, so why can't you have a gift in a pass in a deep ball concept? So I just like having answers. I want to play that answers as many questions as given to me.
Right.
And so that's kind of what it is. If you get pre-snap man, you're probably going to the shallow right away. If they're up there pressing, that's your man beater right there. It's either going to go there or there. So, what else we got?
Cool.
Now I'm gonna send you guys a recording of this stuff after I get it uploaded. You have to give me a day or two, but if there's anything else, you guys have any questions, you can email me, hit me up on Twitter, any of that good stuff. Once we all get in season, we all kind of get busy. We know how that works, but
Yeah.
I'm trying not to do what I did when I first started the channel. I was doing a video every day. I jumped into that thing 2 feet deep, and so now I try to do one a week during the season. This summer I've done maybe one every couple of weeks, just because people get burnt out on football. But everybody's starting to get excited about it again, and Coach Salas and I were talking about maybe doing like a season follow documentary type thing where we just talk about game planning and doing different stuff. But I really want to kind of pay more attention to that tic-tac-toe game planning. I kind of like that idea, and kind of want to develop it and clean it up. And as you start adding, when people start putting things into their offense, ask yourself, like Coach is saying, why don't you run sail that much? And then when I put it up on the tic-tac-toe, he was like, well, I see why you don't run sail that much. And as you're looking at your offenses and whether you want to add or subtract plays or something that you like, being able to see what areas that you can hit effectively and what areas you can't hit effectively. And then compare that to the amount of practice time you have and whether or not that goes. Now, Coach Pilgrim, do you have foundations and advanced concepts already?
Yes.
Okay.
I have pretty much a lot of your courses.
Do you have leveling up?
Yes.
Okay. When I get the 11 personnel video together, which will be it'll probably